Well, good morning and welcome to the trade setup right here on BloombergQuint Live. I'm Niraj Shah, and well, it it seems to be an interesting day of trade simply because it's the last trading day of the week. It's also the weekly options expiry, and it's also the first day. Okay, let me just get my mic straight. Yeah, it's also the first day of the month of October, and it's going to be an action-packed October. Least of all, that of course the one of the reasons of course is the earnings season kickstarts in all earnestness from October, right? But that aside, it's just going to be a packed month, and I'll tell you all about it. First, what the US markets did and what the futures are doing are in a bit of a contrast to what the rest of the Asian pack is. So we had a day in the green, even though we came off a little bit, uh, if you would argue, from the highs. But the US markets had a day in the green. In fact, at a point of time, the SGX Nifty last night was also showing a lot of fanfare. Somehow, Asia and the SGX Nifty don't quite have the same flavor that the US markets did. Nikkei had some technical snag and therefore they shut the markets, but that notwithstanding, if you look at ASX, Straits Times, HSI, KOSPI, it's not like there is a lot of fanfare out there. Okay, some markets are doing well, some markets are not. The SGX Nifty, at least the last time that I checked, at about 7:30 in the morning, was down about 0.25% or thereabouts. So there is no big positive move that we're seeing in the SGX Nifty in the session today, despite, as I said, the fact that, okay, I stand corrected. I mean, maybe when I saw it was looking a bit soft. Right now it looks positive, so that's actually a good sign. So I stand corrected. You have about 1% kind of a gain, which is actually not a bad thing. But I just thought it was a bit surprising with the US markets doing what they're doing and the futures also in the green, that we didn't have a good start to the SGX, but clearly we do. So that's actually a good sign. Now, that's the trade setup, right? That even if you look at the last couple of days, the momentum may have been a bit amiss, but the undertone remained positive, right? Tuesday and Wednesday, we had a great day on Friday, we had a great day on Monday. Tuesday, Wednesday, it just seems sideways, and the momentum was not there. But the undertone remained really, really good. There was a near even split between gainers and losers in the derivative pack in trade yesterday, which I thought augured really well, simply because we had a day that was fairly choppy with a bit of a downward bias yesterday in metals and some of the other stocks, which are a high proportion in the derivative pack. But it was even Stevens. Now, I just think that Unlock 5 could also add to the market spirit today. From an economy perspective and a market sentiment perspective, the fact that the economy is opening up only aids sentiment. It may really spiral the cases out of control, and we don't know that. What we do know is that it aids sentiment, and therefore, on that count, it should be positive, not just for individual stocks, which we'll come to in a bit, but I think for the overall market sentiment, the fact that we are all opening up and more parts of the economy start getting commercial business in whichever shape or form that they get is actually not a bad sign. The gig economy gets a big fillip, and that actually aids to the economic fillip as well. So I would suspect it's all a good thing. Now, there's some economic data released yesterday. I won't get into the minutiae. There were some negatives, some positives, and don't expect too many positives, of course, in 2 quarters which were locked down due to COVID or sorts. So I won't dwell too much into it. But I will dwell a bit on how, despite the fact that the market, as I said, was showing some momentum, VIX fell. And that's actually also a good sign. India VIX actually came off quite rapidly in the last few days and currently at about 19.5, which also aids to my mind to the forward. The stocks to watch, and there's a long laundry list today. Unfortunately, I'm starting off with the first one, which is not the most positive, but then the rest, some of them at least, have some positive undertone to themselves as well. ONGC, and I don't think people will get a chance to short this one, or Oil India for that matter, both of these, because the domestic gas prices have been set at $1.78 per MMBTU for the period of October to March 2020-21. This is a net negative for ONGC as well as Oil India, viewers. I haven't given Oil India's name, but both of these stocks, it's a net negative for them, simply because, to the best of my understanding, their cost of production is higher, the cost of procurement is higher than the price that has been set. They will not be keen to set up new investments at such low prices. And it's not great. Now, this is as per a predetermined formula, keep in mind. But ONGC, viewers, remember 2 days ago was up and about simply because the markets thought that maybe, and there was some comment from Dharmendra Pradhan, of course, which is where the markets thought that maybe the benchmarking could be changed. Now, it could well happen, viewers. Keep that in mind. The benchmarking could well happen mid-quarter, and therefore, you never know, the prices may be high. But for now, as we understand and as we know, then the gas prices have been set at $1.78 per MMBTU. So negative for ONGC Oil India. In the same vein, it's positive for the city gas distributors. So IGL, MGL, Gujarat Gas, all three get a fillip because of this. Essentially, it's not, I personally don't think it's a dramatic game changer for margins. If at all, it's a bumper for, or it's a push for more adoption of the cleaner fuel, simply because the price differential between CNG or LPG for that matter and petrol and diesel or the normal conventional fuels increases, and therefore more people could adopt the gas, and therefore that's a positive. The companies will probably pass on the margins, almost all of them, and therefore I don't think there'll be a big margin uptick. There could be, but keep in mind it's net positive, and therefore these stocks will react positively today. So these are the two big ones. Then Natco Pharma and Lupin. The release came out late last evening that Lupin has launched the lapatinib tablets after the alliance partner Natco Pharma received the final approval for its NDA from the US FDA. Now, the drug is primarily used for treatments of certain types of breast cancer. I read a Prabhudas the other note, which was not too gung-ho on Lupin, but a mild positive for Natco as well. So both of these stocks could have a positive reaction today. Do watch out. I would watch out for these three names amongst the auto numbers that will be released today, viewers. Maruti, Escorts, and M&M. On M&M, the expectation is that they will probably show a 13% YOY growth. On Escorts, the expectation is they'll show a 20% YOY growth. On Maruti, the expectation is that the number from 1.22 lakhs will move to about 1.55 lakhs. So the expectations from these three are very strong. If they beat these strong expectations, then the stocks could have a good day in trade. Keep in mind the markets are also positive, so you just have to wait for the beat. If Escorts number is greater than 20%, or if M&M is greater than 13%, then I would reckon that the markets would reward those numbers. So keep in mind these three in particular. Then of course Hero, Bajaj, TVS, etc., two-wheelers, yes, but these three in particular are expected to have a very strong month. You can read the auto sales expectation copy on BloombergQuint.com. Log on to our website. Yash Upadhyay, my colleague, has written that. So that'll give you an idea of what the expectations are and what the underlying tone is. And maybe that will help you trade these stocks better. So watch out for these as well. The new listings would be in focus, Chembon and CAMS. CAMS, I think from what I hear, the premiums starting to come off a bit. But I would suspect that both of these, because of the kind of subscription that they've had, might have a good listing and might have good follow-up days as well, particularly CAMS. It's a monopoly business. People love platforms these days. We know what's happened. I'm not saying the same thing will happen to CAMS, but we know what's happened to CDSL about 6 months, 12 months, 18 months post its listing, when people realize the value of a monopolistic platform. And it's not a monopoly per se, but it's 70% market share, so dominant market share. I would presume that CAMS could have decent next 12, 18 months. But I'm no soothsayer. I think valuations will determine what the stocks do. But yeah, the business looks solid. The management has spoken about it on BloombergQuint as well. So could be interesting, these two. And last but not the least, viewers, amongst the most important data points today is, of course, the Unlock 5. And as I said, it's great for the economy, but I would suspect it's great for some of these stocks as well. PVR, Indian Hotels, and Wonderla, because the Unlock 5 guidelines help multiplexes, help hotels, help theme parks as well. Whether or not they're happening in Bombay or Delhi or West Bengal is separate. But if indeed there is opening up, and different states may have different rules, I think Maharashtra is not allowing, or Mumbai doesn't probably have multiplexes open, but that's fine. All I'm saying is overall the tone seems to be towards opening up. Some of the states will open up, and all of that should be positive. Unless I'm very wrong, West Bengal has opened up from today, the multiplexes. Maharashtra and Mumbai open up restaurants, I think, from October 5th. So all of this should augur well for these stocks. So expect some fever there too. Should be well. Last but not the least, viewers, it's a packed October, as I said, and these are the few things that all of us should be watching out for. The auto sales numbers today, very, very important to see if indeed the upticks are there. Government final decision on the moratorium interest waiver. Any stimulus, or rather the final decision on the moratorium interest waiver. Any stimulus from the government and the RBI Monetary Policy Committee decision. All of these should be watched out for. In addition, viewers, to earnings, which will kickstart with IT, which has no room for disappointment. So it promises to be a packed October, but it promises to be a packed day today as well. Be very careful when you're trading. The undertone is positive, and that's actually a very good sign. Thanks so much for tuning into the trade setup today. Have a profitable day ahead.